welcome to the Depth Dive. Today we're digging into a really powerful idea, something that's changed how we create almost everything.
That's right. We're talking about human-centered design,
Yeah.
or HCC.
Exactly. It's this approach that really anchors the whole problem-solving process, not on, the technology itself or specific business targets, but right on the real needs, the behaviors, even the emotions of actual people.
It's a fundamental shift, really, especially now with automation growing so fast. And HCD, well, it might sound like some new buzzword, but it's got quite a history.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, its roots go way back, mid-20th century. Think human factors engineering during World War II.
Like designing airplane cockpits.
Precisely. Realizing controls had to fit the pilots, their limitations to stop critical errors. Then it got really popularized, maybe in the 90s, by firms like IDEO.
IDEO, right?
So the core idea of HCD is a creative way to solve problems that involves people, the actual customers, community members, whoever, in every stage.
All the way through.
All the way. The goal is to make sure the solutions are, effective, engaging, and genuinely useful to them.
Okay. So our mission today, for you listening, is to unpack those core principles, sort of the mindset behind HCD, then walk through the process, which can be messy, but it's necessary.
And iterative. Definitely iterative.
Yes. And then look at how HCD is being used today. It's way beyond just apps, right? We're seeing it in social innovation, even with AI.
Absolutely. Big frontiers.
All right, so let's start with the fundamentals. What are those non-negotiable principles? You said it's more mindset than method.
Exactly. Mindset first. And that mindset really stands on three key pillars. They're all interconnected.
Okay.
First one, and you could argue it's the absolute cornerstone, is empathy.
And not just sympathy, right? Deeper.
Much deeper. It's not a quick survey. It means really, truly understanding a person's whole life, their feelings, what drives them, the full context they live and work in.
How do you do that?
It means designers have to immerse themselves.
Yeah.
Get into the user's environment. Try to see the world from their perspective. It takes time.
Okay, empathy. What's number two?
Number two is collaboration, or often called co-creation.
Building with people, not just for them. I saw that phrase.
That's the one. It's a mandate, really. You have to include all sorts of stakeholders.
Like who?
Well, the end users, obviously, but also the tech people, the developers, the managers holding the budget. Everyone involved in making it real.
Why is that so crucial?
Because you need to ensure the solution isn't just something people want, but that it's actually possible to build technically, and that it makes sense financially. Plus, it helps shift that old power dynamic, away from just the experts deciding everything.
Right, sharing the power. Okay, empathy, collaboration. And the third?
And the third is iteration. This is key. HCD accepts, embraces, really, that you won't nail it on the first try. Nobody does.
So lots of versions.
Lots of versions. You create multiple prototypes, often really rough ones at first. You test them with real people, get feedback, and then you refine, you loop.
And there's a hidden benefit there, isn't there? Something about cost.
Absolutely. The hidden genius is financial. Iteration makes failure cheap. Finding a big problem in a paper sketch costs almost nothing.
But finding it after months of coding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can cost a fortune, derail the whole project. Iteration catches things early.
That focus on the person throughout, it connects to something else I read about the language changing.
Ah, yes. The shift away from just calling people users.
Yeah, because user kind of reduces someone to just how they interact with the thing, right?
It does.
Yeah.
So you see terms like customers, patients, caregivers, neighbors. It depends on the context. It's part of embedding that empathy right into the team's vocabulary.
Language frames the relationship. Makes sense.
Totally. And speaking of that relationship, the HCD process is really structured to build that understanding.
Okay, so it's a mindset, but there is a process to follow.
Yes, definitely. It's structured, though not always linear. It helps guide designers through the complexity. You often see it visualized, maybe like the double diamond model.
Where you go wide, then narrow, then wide again.
Exactly. Diverge, converge, diverge, converge. And that very first stage, it's famously called the fuzzy front end.
Or the design squiggle. I like that one.
Yeah. Because it is messy at the start. You don't have much clarity yet.
That must be tough for some people, right? Stakeholders wanting quick answers.
Oh, absolutely. It requires a bit of faith in the process. You kick off with the discover phase.
And the goal here is just empathy.
Pure empathy building. This is where you do that deep ethnographic research. In-depth interviews, observations, maybe diary studies where people record their experiences.
Trying to find those hidden insights people don't even realize they have.
Precisely.
Okay.
But you're right, you can end up with a lot of raw data. How do you make sense of it all?
Good question.
That leads straight into the next phase, define. This is where you start to converge, to synthesize all that research.
Making sense of the mountain of notes.
Exactly. The key here is to figure out the right problem to solve, not just any problem, the core one. And a major tool for this is creating a persona.
Ah, personas. Fictional characters based on the research.
Right, but not just demographics like 35-year-old male.
Yeah.
A good persona synthesizes real motivations, frustrations, goals pulled directly from your discovery data. It gives the whole team a shared person to design for, a human reference point.
Got it. So discover, define the problem, and persona. Then what?
Then you diverge again. Phase 3 is design, sometimes called ideate. Now you want lots of ideas.
Quantity over quality initially.
You got it. Open the floodgates. Use techniques like round-robin brainstorming or maybe a creative matrix. The goal is to push past the obvious answers, generate novel solutions.
Avoid just defaulting to the easy thing.
Exactly. And that burst of creativity flows right into prototype and test.
Making the ideas real.
Tangible, yeah. But starting simple. You move from low-fidelity things, paper sketches, basic wireframes, to gradually higher fidelity prototypes that look and feel more real.
And testing is crucial here.
Absolutely essential. And you don't need huge numbers. Remember that stat. Just like 6 to 9 well-run usability tests with actual users.
Can uncover like 80% of the major issues?
That's the figure often cited, yeah. It's incredibly efficient. That's the payoff of fast iterative testing.
Okay, discover, define, design, prototype, and test. What's the last step?
The final phase is plan and implement. This is where you create the roadmap for rolling out the final, polished solution.
And the key is making sure everyone involved now was involved earlier.
Critically important.
Yeah.
The stakeholders needed for rollout, for maintenance, for support, they should have been part of the journey from the discovery phase onwards.
That co-creation builds buy-in. They become champions.
Exactly. They understand the why behind it, which actually shows how powerful HCD can be beyond just making better products.
Right. You mentioned social innovation.
Yeah, think about global development. The Aga Khan Foundation, AKF, they launched something called the Accelerate Impact Guide recently, June 2025.
What is that?
It's a free, open-source HCD toolkit, and it's based on 5 years of actual fieldwork across Central and South Asia.
Wow. So field-tested methods.
Deeply field-tested. The whole point is to genuinely strengthen community-led development, putting communities in charge of their own solutions.
And I remember reading a quote about that from a facilitator in Tajikistan, Nilufar Kambarova.
Yes, it's a fantastic example. She grew up in the very community she was working with using these HCD tools.
But she was still surprised by what they uncovered, even as an insider.
That's what she said. It perfectly highlights why this deep ethnographic listening is so vital. When you're part of a context, you often take things for granted, make assumptions.
So what kind of things were they finding?
Things that surveys just miss. Maybe unspoken cultural taboos that stop certain groups, like women, from accessing resources. Or fundamental infrastructure issues, like unreliable electricity, that make a perfect tech solution totally impractical.
Needs that people wouldn't even think to mention because it's just how things are.
Exactly. Unspoken needs. HCD digs those out.
That focus on, well, uncovering hidden barriers and diverse needs, it seems like a natural lead-in to inclusive design.
It really is. Inclusive design draws heavily on HCD principles. Microsoft, for example, has a well-defined approach.
What are their core ideas?
They boil it down to 3 main principles. First, recognize exclusion. Actively look for and acknowledge where biases exist, where there are mismatches between people and the experience you've designed.
So being honest about who might be left out.
Yes. Second, learn from diversity. Put people in all their variety at the center, because those diverse perspectives are where the real insights come from.
Okay. Recognize exclusion, learn from diversity.
And the third is powerful. Solve for one, extend to many.
What does that mean in practice?
It means if you design a solution specifically for someone with a permanent disability, say, really good keyboard navigation for someone who can't use a mouse,
Right.
or a high contrast mode for low vision.
Those improvements often end up helping lots of other people too.
Tons of people. Someone using a laptop trackpad appreciates good keyboard navigation. Anyone using a screen in bright sunlight benefits from high contrast. Designing for the edge case often creates a better, more robust solution for everyone.
That makes so much sense. Okay, now, let's look ahead. The next frontier, AI.
Ah, yes. Artificial intelligence.
How do these HCD principles apply here? Because AI feels different. More complex, maybe more opaque.
It is complex, and
Yeah.
applying HCD is absolutely crucial. There's a growing field called human-centered artificial intelligence, or HCAI.
HCAI. And the goal is
The goal is to design AI systems that amplify human abilities, that enhance what we can do, not just replace people wholesale.
augmentation, not just automation.
That's a good way to put it.
Mhm.
But there's a challenge. A lot of HCAI principles, while sounding great things like trustworthiness, explainability, transparency, privacy, they're often kind of vague, difficult to actually implement systematically.
And easy to say, hard to do.
Pretty much. A recent review, looking at HCAI research from 2018 to 2023, found that while everyone talks about these concepts, very few studies actually use systematic methods to tackle things like demographic bias in the data AI learns from.
And that's especially risky in areas like healthcare, right?
Hugely risky. Think about clinical decision support systems. That's AI software analyzing patient data to suggest diagnoses or predict risks, like, say, heart failure readmission.
If the data used to train that AI is biased,
Then the AI's recommendations will be biased. It could lead to inequitable care or even outright harm, perpetuating existing disparity.
so concepts like explainability become critical, being able to understand why the AI made a certain recommendation.
Absolutely critical. We can't just have a black box making decisions that affect people's lives. We need to be able to scrutinize the logic. If we don't design these systems for human understanding and oversight, we risk just automating our own biases at scale.
Wow. Okay, so this broadening scope from just designing a usable product to designing these complex ethical AI systems, it sounds like it connects to another idea I came across, humanity-centered design.
Yes, that's a concept championed by Don Norman, a real pioneer in HCD.
And how does that differ from human-centered design?
It expands the focus. Humanity-centered design isn't just about the individual person interacting with a product. It looks at people as societies, as part of complex ecosystems, facing really deep-rooted systemic issues.
The so-called wicked problems.
Exactly. Things like climate change, systemic inequality, political polarization, problems that don't have simple fixes. Humanity-centered design says we need to adopt a long-term, systems-level view.
Moving beyond just usability to think about sustainability, responsibility, the bigger picture.
Precisely. It's about designing for the well-being of society and the planet, not just the immediate user or customer. A much bigger and arguably much harder challenge.
So pulling this all together, what's the big takeaway for our listeners?
Fundamentally, human-centered design is this philosophy, this mindset that insists on prioritizing real human needs, capabilities, and behaviors, and crucially, involving people throughout the entire problem-solving journey.
And it works, right? The results are there.
Oh, absolutely. The data shows it. Products and services developed with strong HCD principles consistently show higher user satisfaction, sometimes over 50% higher. And, as we discussed, it drastically cuts the risk of expensive failures by catching those deal-breaking issues early when they're cheap to fix.
Okay, so for you listening, we want to give you something concrete, an immediate action item you can try this week to start putting HCD into practice.
Let's call it the empathy deep dive, or maybe an inspiration walk.
I like that. So here's the challenge. This week, just conduct 2 short 15-minute shadowing sessions. That's it.
Not a survey, not an email. Actual shadowing.
Right. Find a colleague or a customer, maybe a partner organization, and ask them to simply show you in their actual workspace how they interact with your product, your service, whatever it is you work on.
Just watch and listen.
Exactly. This tiny slice of real ethnographic research observing someone in their context, it will uncover unspoken needs, workarounds, frustrations, things that passive data collection like surveys or analytics will almost always miss.
It's surprisingly powerful, even in short bursts.
Definitely. Okay, so as we wrap up, let's leave you with a final provocative thought to chew on.
Despite all this evidence we've talked about, the increased satisfaction, the reduced risk, the better outcomes, HCD often still faces an uphill battle, doesn't it?
It seems so, especially against the pressure for short-term profits. Sometimes companies see that deep research, the co-creation, as too slow, too fuzzy, too intangible.
Yeah, the return on investment isn't always immediately obvious on a quarterly report, even though the long-term benefits are huge.
So the question for you is this: how can we, as designers, as innovators, as leaders, how can we most effectively translate the ethical imperative and the clear long-term value of designing with people
Into the language that resonates right now, the language of immediate, undeniable business value that finance departments and executives simply can't afford to ignore.
Something to think about. That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.